Hi everybody, my name is Rich Frascone, and I'm here to introduce you to Who's Telling the Truth, the show where we want to dig into the media's questions and find out if they're being factual or fictional. We need your help. We need to find out who's telling the truth. Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here. Hey, today is show number 26. Today is 8/12. Today is Hyperloop Day. That's right, Elon Musk announced the plans for the Hyperloop. And guys, we're technically challenged here, so I got nothing to show you. Next week though. But guys, what I wanted to talk to you about tonight was Last week, I had what was called a Mamma Mia moment. There's only one way that you can explain to anybody what a Mamma Mia moment is. So before I try to explain it to you, I'll just show it to you. John?
Mamma Mia, that's some beast.
Cut spicy meatballs, Jack. Sorry. Take 28.
I got no volume.
Now, Tony, and action.
Judy, you should be on the headphones.
Mamma Mia, that's a spicy meatball.
Cut. The accent.
Huh?
Cut. Cut.
Micey, micey, bossy, bossy.
Take 59. And action.
Sometimes you eat more than you should. And when it's spicy besides, Mamma Mia, do you need Alka-Seltzer? Alka-Seltzer can help unstuff you, relieve the acid indigestion, and help make you your old self again.
Mamma Mia, that's a spicy meatball.
Cut. Okay. Let's break for lunch.
All right, we're coming back. Okay, we let that run a little bit long, but that's okay because we want to pay dues to the people that did the production. So, guys, now you know what a Mamma Mia moment is, and you're going to say, "Well, what causes Mamma Mia moment?" You know, guys, I'm the producer. I'm the executive producer of the show. Believe me, everything that gets on the show is through me. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I download the clips from YouTube. Everything comes from YouTube. I select everything, I download it, I edit it. Well, I really don't edit, I just download it. And I bring the show to you guys. So I'm really responsible for everything that you see on the show. Now, I have to give kudos to the people that helped me. Number one is John. John is a director. And I tell you, John, 6 months ago, I don't think he knew what side of the camera to get on. And you see what a beautiful job he's doing. He's really picked this up, and I tell you, he's been a real asset. And then we have Judy. And Judy, you can hear her in the background. And Judy is the one that supplies us with all the sets. And you're going to say, "What's that pelican doing in the background?" Oh, it ain't it's a flamingo. I always wanted a flamingo. I always think of that country comedian when he told him, he said, you know, the best joke to play on somebody is get them drunk and then drop them off in front of their boss's house. They come walking out and they go, "When did I get these flamingos?" But anyway, what pushed me over the edge, guys, was, and these are the words that struck fear in me, and what it was, I'm downloading the clips, I'm getting ready to upload to YouTube, and I'm going through my regular thing, and I really feel like I know what I'm doing, and it's 24 shows, and I finally got my act together, and everything's going smoothly, and all of a sudden a little thing comes up on the screen and it says, MPEG-2 playback component needs to be updated. Continue. Okay. How many times have I uploaded Adobe Flash Player? How many times have you done it? There are certain things you just go ahead and do. So I see continue. So I hit the continue button. 4 days later. 4 days. Don't ask me what happened. I don't know. All I know is I'm glad that I have my buddy William who helped bail me out. Because without him, I would have been buying a new computer. It was that simple. And guys, there's one thing I want to tell you. Living without a computer is like being a fish out of water. I never realized how much I depend on the information that I get from the computer. Oh, and by the way, I want to say hi to all my buddies at Breitbart, Breitbart.com. I've been driving them crazy. That's right, yours truly. Here I am, the vac man. You know, all you guys that refuse to post any specific information, you got a beef, we got a phone number. John, put the phone number up. Well, no, that's, well, if they're at, but you know what? They've seen previous shows. They should have the phone number memorized by now. So anyway, guys, I have to be honest, I went through hell. I mean, I went through hell. And I put William through hell. But to make a long story short, a very long story, we finally got everything resolved, and hopefully, tomorrow we're going to download some new software, and then we'll be able to get on the ball. But, you know, it's like anything else in life. You know, you have to keep working at it. And that's what we're doing. You know, we're trying our best, and we hope to be entertaining and informing while we're here. But, you know, stuff happens, guys. It's that simple. So tonight we're gonna talk to you about con men, you know, confidence men, people that want to win you over. And why do they want to win you over? So they could take money out of your pocket. It's that, and we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the dirty weather that's been happening. And, you know, you're going to say, Rich, you know, the dirty weather, it's just an aberration. There's no. We're going to show you about the dirty weather. And then we're going to show you about some weather girls, which you're really going to get a kick out of. And then we're going to turn our attention to our favorites, the Koch brothers. That's right. The Koch brothers, right now, well, not right now, this weekend, they had a big get-together for the 1% and all of their politician hoodlums. Eric Cantor was down there, Paul Ryan. And you know, it's funny, I'm listening to Fox today, and all I hear is Obamacare, Obamacare. Nothing good, only bad. And why? Because once Obamacare goes into effect, the hospital corporations have to start providing 80% of the money that they spend has to be spent on patient care. So we just killed a golden goose for the hospitals and the insurance companies, and they don't like that because they feel they're entitled to a profit even if they got to steal it from us. Hey, Obama's going to put a stop to that. And I tell you, the guys on Breitbart, boy, you want to get them going? Talk about Obamacare, because they don't know anything about it. All they know is what they hear, and they refuse to look anything up. And then after we dismember the Koch brothers, we're going to bring on our knight in shining armor, Bernie Sanders. That's right, the senator from Vermont. The guy that wants to put solar panels on 10 million roofs. That's right. Bernie was ahead of the curve before the curve was even there. I tell you, you're going to be impressed. And then we got to give Fox the business about solar again. Why? Because they deserve it, and we'll show you why. And then we're going to go visit our buddy up in Brookfield. They finished putting the panels on his house, and they look good. And I tell you, there's still work that has to be done. But anyway, we're going to show you that clip. So, let's start at the beginning, and we're going to show you a clip. And it's from Michael Shermer. Michael Shermer puts out Skeptic magazine, okay? And you can go online. It's free. You know, I mean, you could subscribe to it, but you go online and you could read the main articles. And so this is called Con Men, and this is from Michael Shermer. Enjoy, guys.
I got a better future for me and my family.
I got a career helping others.
One phone call changed my life.
I called the Khan Academy.
At the Koch Academy, we believe in you.
Heck, we believe in just about anything.
At the Koch Academy, you can be fully trained and ready for an exciting new career in the paranormal in as little as 8 months.
We know with our hearts and our minds, and because we have a dictionary, that you can't spell confidence without con. We looked it up.
That's why we work hard to build confidence in our trainees, because believing really is seeing.
Square.
Hit.
Circle.
Wow, hit.
Star.
That's amazing. You just went 10 for 10.
Really?
No, but you did get this one right.
Oh my God.
And that feeling you're having right now, your clients will feel that too. They'll remember the hits and forget the misses.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Why am I doing that?
Psychologists call this the confirmation bias, where you look for and find confirming evidence for what you already believe, and you ignore the disconfirming evidence. People want to believe, and your clients will too.
But your Khan Academy training won't stop at the classroom door. We go one step beyond with practical, real-world training.
I'm feeling a strong spirit coming through here from the other side, someone who's passed over, maybe an M name, no, an N name. K, perhaps? No, oh wait, no, it's a L? Is it
Oh my God, my Uncle Larry. He passed like 2 years ago.
Yes.
Does he have a message for me?
Hang on. He does. He says everything is going to be okay, and that he loves you as only an uncle can.
Oh my God. There's no way he could have known that he was my uncle.
It really is that easy, so don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Classes are starting soon, and financial aid is available.
We'll have one of our current students help you out with the lottery numbers.
I'm getting a 7.
The Koch Academy, because you may not know what the future holds.
And neither do we.
Guys, isn't that the truth? You know, people believe what they want to believe. We got to get the light on this camera fixed. It's making me crazy. That's the one that's on. Somebody's got to fix it. You're going to make me Miss Sugar back here, you know? All right. So, you know, what happens is, and especially with Fox, you know, what's coming out of the mouth from the people at Fox is just, I feel bad for the simple folk that they take advantage of. The people that never ask questions about anything. Never. They hear and they repeat. Why do you think the people that listen to Rush are called ditto heads? They can't think, they just repeat. All right. Now, we're going to show you how global warming has had an effect on the weather. So, John, let's roll the next clip. Here's a local weatherman. Hit it.
Channel 4's local weather report with meteorologist Lee Bixby.
Good morning, St. Louis. Let's go ahead and take a look at your week. 113, Tuesday 114. The crops and livestock out in Hasbro County are pretty much and so are we in terms of grocery store prices. Later in the week, it's going to cool down to a scorching 109 degrees. But the weekend, holy 117 degrees. Well, it's going to be a little toasty out there in the ball field, and just imagine how toasty your own balls are going to feel.
Dirty Energy has created a world of dirty weather. On November 14th, learn the full truth about dirty weather. Don't miss 24 hours of reality. The Dirty Weather Report.
Don't you wish that Fox News could be honest like that guy? Well, it's a little ridiculous, but I mean, it was fun. But it made a point, and it brought a point home. I mean, you know, So many times I've heard, and remember, I watch Fox News so that you guys don't have to. I tune it in all day, and I listen. And all they'll say is, well, you know, we're having very unusual weather. Yeah, you're finally starting to get it. Now, why don't you get the idea that it's time to do something about it? All right, now we got another weather girl. And this girl's cute, you know, but pay attention to what she's saying, fellas. So, John, roll it.
Well, it's the Labor Day weekend. Last chance to lounge by that pool and wrap up your summer reading list. Pippa's standing by with the full forecast. Pippa, looks like that nice warm weather isn't quite ready to leave.
I don't know why you would imagine that it would. We've broken thousands of temperature records across the country and the planet this year. In fact, we're heading into the 329th consecutive month with a global temperature above the 20th century average.
Definitely time to light up that barbecue.
Yes, the barbecue.
Pippa, I think the folks at home are probably about ready for that 7-day forecast.
Okay, sure. Let's start up north, way up north. This week, satellites measured the smallest area of Arctic sea ice coverage in recorded history. That's 4 million square kilometers of ice missing since the 1980s. Where did it go? That's bigger than India. And it's happening so quickly, some researchers are now forecasting a summer with no ice in the Arctic Ocean within 10 years. So instead of a bright white sheet reflecting sunlight back into space, that means dark water sucking up even more heat, making it melt faster and faster. Most scientists prefer the friendlier term of feedback loop, but I'm more inclined to call it what it is, an inescapable death spiral.
I think there's a feedback loop in my earpiece, because I believe I just heard myself ask you for the weather report.
This is the weather report. This is what's happening. Scientists are telling us we can put 565 more gigatons of carbon into the atmosphere before global temperatures rise by 2 degrees, which is universally accepted as the threshold of total mayhem. Except if you add up the proven reserves of fossil fuels controlled by the world's energy companies, the oil and gas and coal we currently plan to burn, that amount is 5 times the safe limit. So if you think it's bad now, you just wait and see what hell we're going to unleash once we start drilling under the Arctic and digging up the tar sands so you can drive 3 blocks to get an ice cap. You think all of this extreme weather is a coincidence? You want the weather report? This is a reality report!
So all in all, a great Labor Day weekend and good times for the air conditioner industry.
Until the power goes out, you moron!
In other news, Chavril madness is sweeping the nation. Canada's royal couple of rock was spotted canoodling.
Guys, I tell you, that was a terrific clip. There's a part 2, but I couldn't download it. William was supposed to help me because I'm having, but I tell you, the part 2, it shows a guy sitting there with a neck brace. All right, now, we've had our fun. Now, the next clip, this is real, guys. The next clip is, it's on Dirty Weather, and it's called Signs of Change. And I mean, this is the type of stuff that's meant to scare you, and it's not a joke. So, John, give us the bad news.
Flash floods in La Plata, the capital of Buenos Aires province, have left close to 60 people dead and forced 1,500 to evacuate their homes.
Nearly 1.5 feet of rain fell late on Tuesday night and trapped some people in their homes. As the water now begins to recede, more than 3,000 people are left homeless and over 80,000 residents still do not have electricity.
Cars were flooded up to their rooftops and rainwater flowed over the windowsills of houses. People had to wade out of their neighborhoods through chest-high water as the floodwaters turned the roads in La Plata into raging rivers. The water reached 6 feet high in some places, and the rains also flooded the country's largest oil refinery, causing a fire that took hours to put out.
Some officials have described the torrential downpour as the worst in living memory.
Nothing like this has ever happened in La Plata. The people still in shock at the devastation.
Holidaymakers may have been confused when they awoke this morning. They were in Torquay and not by the Red Sea. It was thousands of tons of earth collapsing which changed the colour of the water and the landscape of these cliffs.
The section of the beach underneath the cliffs here has been closed for some time, and there have been a number of smaller rockfalls recently, but the one last night was the largest by quite some way.
And we've been talking about Hitchcock, Texas, outside of Galveston, where they have had baseball and softball-sized hail.
For 15 to 20 minutes. That is what is extraordinary about it. We're getting pictures in it.
Sergeant, have you ever seen anything like this in your experience?
In 25 years, I've been through hurricanes and a number of things. And with the extreme hail that we had last night for about 15 minutes, no, sir, I've not seen anything like that. It looked more like...
Victorians can expect more severe weather in the years to come, including extreme heat waves, bushfires, heavy rain and storms. The Climate Commission's latest report shows we're already experiencing levels not expected for decades.
Frequency of extreme weather events, and it's only going to get worse. Political reporter Mayor Greaves joins me now. Good morning, Mayor. The report showed plenty of records were broken this summer.
Yes, Sally, quite a few, including the hottest day and hottest month, capped off by the longest and most extreme heat wave on record. And the number of record hot days have doubled since the 1960s. The report also found that heavy rainfall events are increasing globally.
A magnitude 5.
Guys, you know, it gets to the point where you have to start saying, what are we going to do about it? You know, it's quite obvious that by putting more water vapor in the air, and that's what we do when we heat the planet up. You know, we've spoken about this before. It's like when you take a shower, you know, the hotter the water, the more steam. Well, the steam is just the clouds. And that's why it rains so hard, because we're putting so much water vapor in the air. I mean, look what the people in, is it Oklahoma, outside Oklahoma are going through now. Everybody's underwater, you know? You think those people are going to say, hey, this global warming stuff ain't real? No, no. You know, and finally, who's going to punch Rush Limbaugh in the mouth? That's what I want to know. Fat bastard. No, I tell you, he gets me. And you know what? He's the type of guy that works for the Koch brothers. That's what they do. You know, they want to buy the ignorance of the country. You know, they want to turn people into being willfully ignorant. How do they do it? Simple. They get you to wrap yourself in the American flag while you're thumping a Bible. They want you to do everything for God, country, you know, to keep everybody safe while they destroy the planet by putting carbon in the air. And the fact that they don't have to pay for the pollution that they're creating, that's what global warming's all about. They can keep the profits in their pocket because they don't have to spend money to clean up the problem that they're creating. And, you know, we've spoken about, you know, last week we showed you, everybody said, well, you know, when China starts doing something, and we showed you last week. China is the most progressive country when it comes to renewable energy. All right, now, we're going to show you the Koch brothers and how evil they are and what they try to do to keep money in their pockets and to have you hate your kids. And I'll explain more when we come back.
Usually rumors of smoke-filled rooms where secret conspiracies are hatched are ridiculous. But it turns out there are some exceptions. Sometimes there is a room where the rich and powerful get together to secretly conspire about how to protect their wealth and power. And it turns out we found that room. That appears to be exactly what's happening as we speak here at this Palm Springs hotel, where hundreds of business, political, and media elites are gathering behind closed doors for a 4-day conference that ends tomorrow. No word on whether they filled it with smoke, but they definitely conspired and raised an estimated $30 million for the 2012 election. The invitation list is mostly kept secret, but here is what we know. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor was invited to talk Republican strategy. He has received over $36,000 from the secretive billionaire brothers who organized the event. Much more on them in a second. Past conferences have included Republican Senators Jim DeMint and John Cornyn, Supreme Court Justices Clarence Thomas and Antonin Scalia, and conservative talk show hosts like Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck. Now back to those two brothers I mentioned, David and Charles Koch, each worth an estimated $21 billion. They own Koch Industries, an oil and chemical giant that stands as the second largest privately owned company in the U.S. For years, the Kochs have been promoting their own business interests by investing in right-wing groups. That includes $25 million spent between 2005 and 2008 to make you think global warming is a myth and that we have too much environmental regulation. Interesting, considering Koch Industries happens to be one of the top 10 air polluters in the U.S. The Kochs have also poured millions into the group Americans for Prosperity, a group that helped organize many of the first Tea Party rallies, while denying any connection, of course, to the Tea Party at all and claiming to be, quote, grassroots. Now, all this is triggering a backlash. This weekend, hundreds of protesters gathered outside the hotel trying to raise public awareness about the cloak and dagger activities of the secretive Koch brothers. 25 protesters were arrested. With me now is Michael Isikoff, NBC News national investigative correspondent. Michael, welcome. First,
great to be with you.
It's great to have you here. First, I want to ask you, look, it's not that these guys aren't allowed to do this. They're absolutely, of course, they're allowed to get together and make any plans they like to elect Republicans. But it seems interesting, at least noteworthy, to point out where their financial interests lie and why they might be interested in the political environment in the country.
Exactly, and I think that this has really taken on a bit more prominence and significance in the sort of post-Citizens United era, where unlimited corporate contributions can be poured into political nonprofit groups, which the Kochs have been doing for years, and then can be spent in the political process to influence elections, to run attack ads, to do electioneering communications that's indistinguishable from regular campaign ads. And we saw that in the last election, where a whole array of nonprofit groups popped up and spent something like over $200 million on behalf of candidates in the last election. That's opened the door for even more of it coming, and this conference, held by the very secretive Koch brothers, who don't like to disclose anything they don't have to, is a sign of that. And as you pointed out, a principal goal of this conference is to raise money for grassroots efforts in the 2012 election.
Well, Michael, I want to show you some of where the funding goes that the Koch brothers give out. First, they've got funding to 35 conservative and libertarian groups, and almost $48 million to global warming opposition groups, $37 million on direct lobbying to support fossil fuels, and more than $5 million to Americans for Prosperity. Let me just stop there for a second. Michael, you know, as they spend all this money, they're looking for a return on investment, aren't they? I mean, they've got factories that are creating pollution, one of the top 10 polluters. Then they spend a gigantic amount of money to make sure that there's no regulation on pollution.
It's certainly the groups they fund certainly are consistent with their own personal economic interests. But look, you know, if you had them here, if they would ever agree to an interview, which they don't, by the way, they would tell you, look, we are strong free market conservatives, libertarians. We believe in the capitalist system. We believe in that things work best when regulation is least, and that benefits all. So it's their economic philosophy. You may not agree with it, but that's where they would tell you they're coming from. It is, though, certainly worth mentioning that the causes they fund do happen to benefit their personal business interests. Yes.
Right. And one other quick thing here, Michael. Of course, 91% of their money goes to Republicans. That's not surprising. The other thing they're interested in, of course, is taxes. So look at the capital gains tax rate. That's 15%. When you look at dividends tax rate, that's 15%. Carried interest tax is 15%. I mean, that's some of the lowest taxes in the country. They pay less taxes than we do. So, in fact, they're actually quite smart. You know, you invest in politicians and you get a lot more money back with much, much lower rates than the rest of the country. That makes sense, right?
Look, certainly a valid argument to make, but I think if you know what the Kochs come back and their defenders come back with is saying, what's the issue here? Is it with our economic philosophy or political goals? Fine, let's have a political and economic debate on that. Or is it about the influence of money in politics? And you know, they would say, look at George Soros on the liberal side. What I think the real issue here is what I was saying before: the post-Citizens United era that allows a lot of this money to pour into political groups without any disclosure, and you get a secretive conference like this. That's what you see it, you know, from a distance, albeit that's exactly what we're witnessing.
Can somebody explain this to me? I mean, really, when you have all that money, why do you want more? I mean, it gets to the point, it's past an obsession. You know, it didn't dawn on me, but I should have played the clip with the two brothers from Trading Places. We played that clip earlier with the $1 bet, you know? And the reason why they bet $1 is because that's the only kind of value they can understand. Everything else has no meaning to them. When you have that much money, everything is a relative. Nothing makes sense anymore. And that's why, like, you know, in the clip they were talking about regulations. You know, they want to eliminate regulations. Well, you know, aside from the EPA regulations, you know what the other regulations are? Minimum pay, minimum wage. These guys want to get rid of them. Why? So they can have more for themselves and less for everybody else. Why? Why do we got to fight with these guys all the time? You know, why are they like this? And then, you know, all these guys go down, and the next clip we're going to show you, you know, and they're surrounded by these jackbooted thugs that protect them. And it's the same people. You know, it's Eric Cantor, it's Paul Ryan. You know, and they get their marching orders at these conventions. You know, all the like Jim DeMint. We saw him. He's a former senator from South Carolina. You know who he works for now? The Heritage Foundation. And then you listen to Fox News and you wonder. You say, boy, why are they all singing the same tune? Because they all went to the same meeting. John, let's play the second clip, and we'll really get you going with the Koch brothers. Hit it.
Hello, I'm Robert Greenwald. The Koch brothers Exposed is our latest Brave New Foundation campaign. The size and the scope of what the Koch brothers are trying to do is unprecedented in the history of our country.
These people are destroying America.
They bankrolled the Tea Party movement.
Barack Obama means Antichrist.
Global warming is probably the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the American people.
An exclusive report links the billionaire Koch brothers to Governor Walker. Surprise, surprise.
I have not yet begun to fight.
Kochs are meeting here in private, and they're influencing our politics. It's dirty money that's influencing our politics.
Join us in fighting back. Join us in taking action. Join us in doing something about it. Become a producer. We need your help.
Guys, you know, you saw the people out there protesting against the Koch brothers. And I mean, I'd be standing shoulder to shoulder right next to them. But you know what's one thing that I don't think anybody's thought of this, and I want to try to run it by everybody and see what you think. Instead of rallying against stuff, why don't we rally for stuff? Let me give you an example. There's a company, and I'm not familiar with it because they're out on the West Coast, called Winco. And they're more or less like a Costco, you know, like a Walmart, but yet they pay their employees a living wage. They offer them a retirement plan, and they offer them health insurance. But you know what's most important? They give them dignity. And that's the one thing we're missing in this country. You got to try to exploit people and make them work for less than minimum wage and take advantage of them. Why? So the more can have more. This is crazy. Walmart made $17 billion in profit last year. They can't pay their employees a living wage? What I'm suggesting is Costco. Costco does a beautiful job with its employees, pays them a living wage, shares their profits with their people. The basis for what built this country, we all shared at one point. Not anymore. It's the 1% exploiting everybody else. So what I suggest is, why don't we have a positive rally? We'll celebrate Costco. We'll stand out in front with the signs and everything else positively. And you know what? You know how the employees at Costco are going to feel when they come walking into work and they see a bunch of people out there demonstrating in front of their store because their store is doing the right thing for the common good of the people? Imagine that. And then the people are going to, why are they protesting? They're protesting because they're for the store. Oh, maybe I should change my shopping habits. Maybe I shouldn't go to Sam's Club. Maybe I'll go a quarter mile up the street. I'll go to Costco. So their people can have dignity. And guys, I'm telling you, let's get together. You know, when September comes around, one day, let's spend a couple hours at Costco. Let's have some fun. You know, we'll get boxes of Joe, or I'm sure Costco will give us some donuts. I'm sure they'll be happy to see us there. And instead of being negative, now we're positive. And that's what, and people will start to say, hey, I'm getting it. I get the idea. I understand. And it trickles down, and it trickles sideways, and it trickles up, and it's good for everybody. It's simple. All right, now, let's look at some of the people that are going to help lead us in this change. And the first one, I tell you, I love this guy. From the first day I met him, I just liked him. Bernie Sanders from Vermont. I mean, this guy gets it. So, John, let's roll the first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity for including the 10 Million Solar Roofs Act in today's hearing. I was proud to introduce this legislation with Senator Boozman and very much appreciate the Chairman's support as an original co-sponsor. This bipartisan bill will lower the cost of solar energy for families and businesses and set strong goals for American solar energy production. There is no question but that we have made dramatic progress in cutting the cost of manufacturing solar panels by 72% since 1985, and that is one of the reasons why the solar industry is exploding in this country. They saw, as I understand it, Mr. Chairman, something like a 64% increase in their sales just last year alone. On the other hand, we have not made the same kind of progress on so-called soft costs of installing solar. It's one thing to lower the cost in producing and manufacturing solar, another thing in terms of installing, and that includes permitting and inspection fees. These fees account for up to 20% of
Guys, I don't know what happened. John, hit the machine. Give it a good shot. You know what? Sometimes even the best laid plans go astray. So you know what? Let's go to the next clip. It's a good thing we got a doubleheader with Bernie, because we'll do the next clip and we'll just have to fake something else. Go ahead, John.
I rise in support of the candidacy of Gina McCarthy to be our next EPA administrator. I want to thank Senator Barrasso, because he made it very clear what this whole discussion is about. I think we have heard from previous speakers about the qualifications of Gina McCarthy, but really this is not a debate about Gina McCarthy. Senator Barrasso made it very clear what the debate is about. And it is a debate about global warming, and whether or not we are going to listen to the leading scientists of this country who are telling us that global warming is the most serious planetary crisis that we and the global community face, and whether we are going to address that crisis in a serious manner. And in essence, what Senator Barrasso has just said is no. He does not want the EPA to do that. He does not want the EPA to listen to science. What he wants is us to continue doing as little as possible as we see extreme weather disturbances, drought, floods, and heat waves all over the world take place. So let me go on record as saying I want the EPA to be vigorous in protecting our children and future generations from the horrendous crisis that we face from global warming. According to the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, 2012 was the warmest year ever recorded for the continental United States, and over 24,000 new record highs were set in the U.S. alone. It was the hottest year in recorded history in New York, Washington, D.C., Louisville, Kentucky, even my home city of Burlington, Vermont, and other cities across the country. Last year's drought, affecting 2/3 of the United States, was the worst in half a century, contributing to extraordinary wildfires, burning more than 9 million acres of land, reported the National Interagency Fire Center. Heat waves and droughts are not limited to the U.S. Australia, for instance, just experienced a 4-month heat wave with severe wildfires, record-setting temperatures and torrential rains and flooding, causing $2.4 billion in damages, according to the New York Times. We also know that global warming is causing heat waves and drought, but it is also resulting in extreme weather disturbances of all kinds. NOAA's Climate Extreme Index, which tracks extreme temperatures, drought, precipitation, and tropical storms, tell us that 2012 set yet another distressing record, the most extreme climate conditions recorded. Ronald Prinn, the director of MIT's Center for Global Change Science, concluded, and this is an important point, what we have heard recently from scientists is that they tell us that their earlier projections regarding global warming were wrong, that in fact they underestimated the problem and that the conditions that they were worried about will likely be worse than what they had previously thought. And Ronald Prim, the director of MIT's Center for Global Change Science, said, and I quote, "There is significantly more risk than we previously estimated, which increases the urgency for significant policy action." Let me just conclude, and I'm glad that my colleague Senator Inhofe is here, because Jim Inhofe and I are good friends, although we have rather strong disagreements on the issue of global warming. And what Senator Inhofe has written and talked about is his belief that global warming is one of the major hoaxes ever perpetrated on the American people, that it's a hoax pushed by people like Al Gore, the United Nations, and the Hollywood elite. I think that is a fair quote from Senator Inhofe. Is that roughly right, Senator Inhofe?
Yes, I'd add to that list MoveOn.org, George Soros, Michael Moore, and a few others.
All right, there we go. So that is the issue. That is exactly what the issue. Do we agree with Senator Inhofe that global warming is a hoax and that we do not want the federal government, the EPA, the Department of Energy to address that issue because it is a quote-unquote hoax, according to Senator Inhofe and others? Or do we believe and agree with the overwhelming majority of scientists who tell us that global warming is the most serious planetary crisis that we face and that we must act boldly and aggressively to protect the future of this planet? That is what the issue is, and that is why I'm supporting Gina McCarthy.
Okay, he's back to the camera with no light on it. Boy. All right, now, guys, we heard Senator Inhofe with his comments. Now, I don't know what kind of education you have to be a senator. I don't know. But I'm sure these guys don't have a GED. I mean, they gotta be college graduates. Now, what bothers me is they can't be this ignorant or this stupid. It's not possible. I mean, you can't look at the facts and say it's a hoax. So, I mean, how do they do this? I mean, let's be honest with each other. They're on the take. But even when you're on the take, you still got to sleep at night. You still got to look your kids in the face. You still got to deal with people every day. And how do you sit there and tell them it's a hoax when you know, you have to know? I mean, every National Science Academy in the world, all 19 of them, even Russia and China, agree that global warming is happening. And if the commies agree to it, we should be able to do something. Oh, that's another thing from my buddies in Breitbart. You know, I told them we're a socialized country, and they all went roof shit. They went nuts. We're not socialistic. We're... I said, oh, yeah? You ever think about the $2 trillion we have in Social Security, you boneheads? Social Security? Oh, you mean that's a socialist program? It absolutely is. Some people pay more than others, but we all share. And the idea is that everybody benefits. It's for the common good, not the 1%, for everybody. Now, we're going to put more salt in the wound with Fox News because we want to show you once again how biased they are about anything solar, anything renewable, anything that doesn't burn fossil fuels they're against. Go ahead, John.
Liberal Viewer presents.
So as I showed in my previous video, Fox News hates trains. Fox News always seems to concentrate on the views of critics when it comes to green technology, alternative energy, or anything that threatens the interests of big oil, which again seemed to be the case this week when Fox News' supposedly straight news reporter Laura Ingle did a story on New Jersey's installation of 200,000 solar panels on utility poles that spent the vast majority of the time on criticism of the project, even going so far as to exaggerate the size of the panels by zooming in the camera closer than they would appear from the street, as you can see here.
Our cameraman Paul's going to push in to show you what it looks like on this residential street here in Dumont. It has become a bit of a problem for many homeowners who say these solar panels are more than just an eyesore. They could potentially bring down property values with their unappealing large mirrored faces. One village official who fought the panel installations told us they could also be dangerous in the winter when piled with snow and ice, which could drop on unsuspecting pedestrians.
I love that part about unappealing large mirrored faces, and if Fox News had checked the power company's website, they would have found that those unappealing large mirrored faces also melt a lot of ice and snow, which, along with the wind, minimized the risk of falling debris, but none of that information made it into the Fox News story, which framed the power company and so-called state mandates as the bad guys, as you can see in this clip.
Public Service Electric and Gas Company began its Solar for All program in 2009, placing solar panels all over its service area to help PSE&G make its state-mandated goal to provide 23% of its electricity from renewable sources by the year 2021. Now, most people won't argue turning to solar is a good green idea, but it's become a bit of a NIMBY issue, not in my backyard issue. We've got a group of residents here we want to introduce you to, a very popular corner right across the street from a popular park here in Dumont.
And I guess that popular corner across from a popular park was supposed to be the place to get local popular opinion in contrast with the goals of the power company and the state mandates, but it didn't exactly work out that way, as you can see when Laura Ingle took an impromptu poll here.
So who here likes the solar panels?
Now it looks to me like 4 people raised their hands as liking the solar panels, but you can see Laura Ingle quickly move on to those opposed here.
Who here is perhaps opposed to them?
Now it looks to me like only 2 are opposed, the 2 women on the ends, but even with 4 in favor and 2 opposed, supposedly straight news anchor Laura Ingle next went right to one of those opposed here.
We've got one over here. Why don't you like them? Because they popped up right across the street from you?
I woke up and found one on the pole right outside of my house.
And you don't
I
like
didn't know anything about it. I think it looks ridiculously huge, like a big pizza box.
Like a big pizza box, all right.
And how did the Fox News reporter balance out that opinion? By skipping the 4 in favor and going to the only other person opposed, of course, as you can see here.
Somebody else over here? What, real quick?
I don't have one in front of my house because we do have shade, but I am concerned when we have severe ice and snowstorms around here, things break and come down. And true, I don't have one, but...
All right, and thank you very much for that.
And now it really looked there like the supposedly straight news reporter asked people to raise their hands in favor and opposed to the solar panels just so she could make sure to avoid those in favor. And by the time Laura Ingle briefly spoke to an official from the power company, the 23 seconds she allowed him to give his side not only failed to balance out all the criticism in the rest of the story, but I think actually reinforced Fox News' framing of the issue as the people against the power company and the state mandates. But I want to know what you think. Did Fox News frame the issue and cherry-pick the interviews there to purposely try to make solar power look bad? And regarding the specific criticisms of this program, isn't the possibility of a little snow buildup on the solar panels minor compared to the real environmental threats from other energy sources like coal, oil, and nuclear power? I YouTube, you decide.
Guys, you know, that's the story of Fox. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. If it's renewable and sustainable, it's no good. Now, you know, last week we showed you, we went capitalistic on you last week, and we showed you some of the benefits of Tesla stock, Solar City stock. We showed you Mary Lou's house and how much electricity she's generating from her solar panels. And guys, I wanted to have a weekly update on this. But the printer gods are against me. And William was supposed to come over and help me out again. I tell you, I feel so defenseless. I mean, I feel like they're really manipulating me on this computer stuff every time I turn around. And you know what? I wouldn't mind, you know, paying for the programs and stuff. I just hate going through the aggravation. You know? I mean, well, you know, I didn't grow up with a computer. I mean, the kids today have such an advantage. And, all right, but speaking of panels on homes, we want to go back to our buddy up in Brookfield. And we're going to take a look at how the house looks with the panels, and you're going to see the difference that everything has made. So, John, let's go to it.
Okay, guys, this is just an idea. So this is just so you get an idea of the neighborhood, you know, so that you can understand what kind of houses are here. And here's the house that we, with our buddy, that we, the panels are in place. I have some questions, and I'm sure you do. You know, you do as well. Why aren't there panels going across the bottom part? You know, it looks like they could have put another 2 or 3 panels. I'm sure there's reasons for it. You know, but I mean, these are things that, you know, I'd like to know. And then it looks at right now that that CLMP hasn't put a new meter in yet. So, you know, they were talking about the metering process with the solarization of Danbury. You know, because they wanted to speed up the permitting and all the other processes. But I mean, you could say this is not a new meter. The new meter is like the one we saw up at Mary Lou's house, has the arrows on it. So who knows? But let's see if we can get a shot of the. There's the Solar City sign. So if anybody wants to get an estimate, remember, they're just going to take a picture of your, you know, a satellite picture of your roof to see if you qualify. And when you qualify, it doesn't mean you qualify financially. What it means is, you know, to see if the orientation of your house. It's going to be a little tough to get these panels in the front. But they're there, trust me. Oh, here we go.
A little bit more. Keep going, because I want to show the panels on the front. Keep going if you can. There we go. Now you're starting to see them. Yep. Look at that, huh?
You got a little tree trim.
Yep, and I tell you, look at those panels, guys. Look at that. Guys, we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll have an update on how much electricity they're producing in Brookfield.